Hello, I'm Gaither Stevens, CEO of Gaither Dynamic, and today I will be demonstrating the Community Analysis Dashboard. I'm going to start on the Gaither Dynamic website, which is gaitherdyne.com, and I'm going to hover over Products on the menu and go down to Community Analysis Dashboard. On this page, you're going to see some information about the analysis dashboard. It is a dashboard that is powered by the HMIS annual performance report out of, or the COC annual performance report out of HMIS. And as you see here, it's basically the APR is about, if you were to print it out into a PDF, it's about 18 pages of, key performance indicators, information, numbers, lots of breakdowns of tables. This dashboard attempts to take some of those important information points and just make them easier to digest so that people can read through and understand what's going on in a quick sense throughout a COC. Generally, this dashboard can be run on either an entire organization, so a reporting group or a high tier organization and all the sub providers, or it can be done on an agency or even one individual project. It really is as powerful as how you run the APR. That's the information that'll be pulled into this dashboard. You can run it for 1 month, a year, 10 years, however you want to do it, whatever date range, and then whatever reporting group, and that's what gets pulled in as aggregate numbers into this dashboard. The first thing I want to point out is there is an information icon on this dashboard. It just covers some of the basic stuff that I'm going to be covering today, like how to hover or touch a KPI and what happens, and what I just talked about as far as the analysis dashboard being out of HMIS and based on the APR. So you're going to notice that some of these KPIs are surrounded by natural language and words that just kind of explain what's going on in the dashboard. And then we also have these abbreviated numbers. So instead of having the full number out here that takes up a lot of room, it's 19.93. So we know that we've got thousands going on. But if we hover, we can also see the pre-rounded numbers for accuracy. Also, as you hover over the KPIs, you'll see tooltips that explain, for example, that this one that is showing adults from homeless living situations is actually based on a particular section in the APR, and that's Q15, living situations. So you'll find layered information throughout the tooltips on the dashboard. As we go down, we see some of the vulnerable populations that we collect data on, and we try to help in the system that have been collected. So we've got children, survivors of DV, veterans, chronically homeless. And then if we hover over that, we get more information about these particular groups and we get the non-rounded numbers. We now move into ways that people are helped. So whether that be permanent housing, increasing income, those are both listed here, and we can hover and find out a little bit more information about them. Improving, obviously, housing success rates and income are very important in what we do and in helping people. This section does allow a little bit of interactivity with the dashboard for the households and the ages. It's possible to click on veteran households and get a breakdown of veterans, and then click on chronically homeless households to get a breakdown of that. And then if we want to go back to all households, we can click the all households back button, and then we will have the dashboard the way it was. I'm going down under age. We break down further into other demographics like sex. You may notice that sex, the number here is not collected a ton yet because that category didn't start being collected until October 1st, 2025. Prior to that, it had been gender. So as COCs and organizations collect this data more on current clients, these numbers will match the numbers that you're seeing here, like in race and ethnicity. Now, under race and ethnicity, I'd like to point something out. The number here talks about the total, but when collecting race and ethnicity, the APR will, if someone identifies as white, they'll just show up in the white category. If they identify as Black, African American, or African, they'll just show up in that category. However, if someone says that they are white and Black, African American, or African, they do not show up in the white category. They do not show up in the Black, African American, or African category. They show up in a separate category, a third category now, that is white and Black, African American, or African. So that gets very interesting, especially as you maybe have someone that identifies as white, Middle Eastern, or North African, and Black, African American, or African, because now that becomes the category. All the possibilities become all new categories. So rather than doing that and having 20, 30 categories on this dashboard, I use an inclusive manner. So if somebody is counted in the white category and also the Black, African American, or African category, they're counted in both of those categories. So the point of that, these numbers will not total the total number of people. There should be more people because generally more people will identify as multiple categories in realistic situations. Moving on, what are some of the challenges that people we serve face? So, unemployment, lack of income, lack of insurance, disability is obviously a major one. And then we move on to how many people have stayed in the system by the time the report was done, the date on the end point of the report, and then how many people have had left by then. So, stayers are people that are still in the system, leavers are people that have left. We also have project types that we can look at, and we can see that how many people were of homeless nature. This is based on living situation when they came into the system. So how many were permanent? And someone might ask, why would somebody that's in permanent housing seek help from the homeless system? Well, that might be food pantries, it could be homeless prevention. So there are options in there that make sense. Temporary could be things like, well, just temporary places that aren't meant for living continuously. Institutional might be like jails or hospitals. Next, we move on to length of time. This is familiar to people that know about system performance measures. And we also have a breakdown of not just average days, but we also have median, because median can be better for taking taking out outliers from the equation, so to speak. So I prefer to look at average days and median days. They're both really good for comparisons. And then lastly, we have data quality. And if you hover, there's some information here, like you'll see a lot of social security number errors. And in context, that may actually not be errors. That's not, for example, a J when there should be a number. A lot of times that can just be a project that only collects the last four of the social security number because of security purposes. And maybe HMIS goes, oh, that doesn't look good. We need full numbers. But that's just a kind of a guidance versus real world scenario kind of conflict. But just realize that that might be totally fine to have quote unquote errors on social security numbers if they're partial and they're supposed to be that way. However, things like destination, those should be data quality issues that need to be fixed generally. So they're shown on here as a highlight. And then also relationship to head of households, very important as well. These are Tableau dashboards, so there are certain things that are able to do with this, like generating images and sharing the dashboard. So very interesting stuff. And I just wanted to cover all of these. And if you have any follow-up, feel free to visit the gaither9.com website and email me, and I would love to help out more about this dashboard. Thank you very much.